Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation, with an update on J.P. Morgan's role in metals manipulation and spoofing. It is now under a U.S. criminal probe. Let's explore! Yes, this comes to us from Bloomberg.com and was sent to me by Eli Redshirt. It is interesting to see these events unfold in the precious metals world, racketeering, serious charges and investigations that have occurred against J.P. Morgan, and sort of bolsters the case for manipulation. However, I want to caution those of you who think that this is a smoking gun in terms of massive manipulation of the markets. I'm going to talk a little bit about manipulation because I believe it's in everyone's best interest to be as realistic as possible about what's going on in the world of precious metals, so that we're not disappointed when things don't go exactly or as we think they should, and also when they are going the way they should, even when we don't think they should be. I know that's kind of confusing, but I'll explain later. The article says that U.S. authorities that accused 6 J.P. Morgan and Chase & Company employees of rigging precious metal futures are building a criminal case against the bank itself. 2 people familiar with the situation said. The previously unreported investigation of the global bank's parent company, part of a wide-ranging federal clampdown on market manipulation, raises the prospect of criminal charges and significant fines against America's largest bank. No formal accusations have been made against J.P. Morgan. A bank spokeswoman, Jessica Francisco, declined to comment and pointed to company filings from last year disclosing that the Justice Department's criminal division was investigating trading practices in the metals market and related conduct. How the probe proceeds from here is likely to be watched closely. Relatively few big bank prosecutions have come to light during the Trump administration, compared with the spate of big penalties and guilty pleas for banks under President Barack Obama. The Justice Department declined to comment. Of course, that's a partisan jab at Trump. But investigators of the Justice Department and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission are at least 2 years into their examination of trading on J.P. Morgan's precious metals desk. One of the people said, U.S. authorities have already charged bank traders who worked in New York, London, and Singapore with manipulating thousands of orders for gold and silver futures to benefit the bank and its major hedge fund clients. A campaign of manipulation and spoofing, which is placing orders and then canceling them to trick other market participants, spanned a decade, the prosecutor said. Although other suspect market cheats have been charged with specific spoofing and manipulation offenses, the Justice Department accused J.P. Morgan metals traders under the so-called RICO statute, a criminal racketeering law more commonly applied to mafia cases than global bank probes, and we discussed that in a prior video about this matter. Authorities are conducting a similar racketeering investigation of a second financial firm involved in spoofing, according to a third person familiar with the matter. RICO allows for prosecutors to charge multiple criminal acts involving a group of people in the same case as long as they were part of the same enterprise. The Justice Department said that racketeering conspiracy on the J.P. Morgan's metals desk ran between March 2008 in August 2016, 2 former metals traders for the bank have pleaded guilty to fraud charges and are cooperating with authorities. Among those fighting charges are Michael Nowak, who remained active as a global head of J.P. Morgan's precious metals desk until he was indicted under seal in August. After the arrest of Nowak and 2 others in September, Assistant Attorney General Michael Benkowski said investigators will follow the facts wherever they lead, whether it's across desk here or any other bank, and upwards into the financial institution. Despite the charges against several individuals, over precious metal trading, the Justice Department hasn't announced any criminal charges against big banks. It isn't the first time the bank trading operations have come under the scrutiny of prosecutors. In 2015, JP Morgan pleaded guilty to felony antitrust charges along with a handful of other global banks that paid penalties and admitted to conspiring to rig the price of U.S. dollars and euros. JP Morgan agreed to pay $550 million, but it and other global banks in the settlement felt little lasting hit from the market or customers, undercutting investor fears that a guilty plea would devastate their business. Even so, federal prosecutors could attempt to use the earlier market manipulation plea as leverage in settlement negotiations if they can argue that the bank is a repeat offender. In addition to the anti-racketeering statute, prosecutors are relying on wire fraud laws to target alleged spoofing that occurred before it became specifically outlawed in 2011. Wire fraud, when perpetrated against a financial institution, is subject to a 10-year statute of limitations, compared with 5 for spoofing. A federal judge in Chicago recently ruled that the charge could be used in a case against 2 former Deutsche Bank AG traders. So it is interesting. They're under investigation. It's under a criminal probe now, and to me, it seems like it's something that the Trump administration, at least it's on the federal level, they are cracking down on. So I don't understand the hit against Donald Trump administration on this, now considering that they're really looking into this very seriously. It will be fascinating to see how this plays out. My guess is it will have little effect on what's going on with, quote, manipulation, even if everybody's found guilty. You think about it, there's so much involved in the precious metal prices. And these spoofers are taking advantage of, literally second by second trades, and where the prices can normalize shortly after when they make these big buys and sells, quickly in the markets. Obviously, it's illegal. We should not, make light of what they're doing. It's a problem. But the thing is over the course of a couple of days or even a week or what have you, those prices will normalize back to those normal market conditions that I believe are the largest effect on the prices. Now, someone had commented and responded that the Fed is the largest manipulator out there. And yeah, you're right. But the Federal Reserve, they manipulated a target of 2.2% inflation each year, which is on the dollar. And that dollar, it trickles out and expands out to all asset classes and each and everything, as an Indian scammer would tell us, And so, yeah, there's no mistaking that there's manipulation that occurs in the markets. It's how you define that manipulation. It's how you translate, what it actually means and how it occurs, because there's so many different things and factors that can push and pull. A black swan event manipulates the price of the precious metals, but that's natural. The manipulation and how it's defined and who's keeping the price down, that type of thing. Well, yeah, and who's to say that the manipulation can't work the other way as well? This spoofing is talking about how they can make money. Well, they can make money on the up and up as well on the down and low. And that's the thing. Buying and selling and spoofing and making calls, making bets and placing them and canceling them to trick the other market participants doesn't say if it's done to push the price down or the price up. But and that's just it. It's a trick, and they're doing it, and it happens, in the course of a trading period. But by and large, I think overall, even though this is a damning case and is still under investigation, as I said, nobody's been charged with anything yet beyond the few that have been indicted that were very high-level folks in the precious metal market. But keep it in perspective. I think that's the overall message I would give to this. And it's serious. It's worth covering. It's obvious that this type of thing has been going on. My guess is it's probably having less now as this is becoming public news and out there. These banks are probably being very careful and cautious because they don't want to be caught in the web. So, and you look at it, silver price is still low in spite of this stuff happening. So I think that's proof positive that manipulation, though it occurs, and really has a negligible impact in the grand scheme of things. I know there's many of you that disagree with me on this. I know I'm in the minority on this, but it's just how I feel, and just from the evidence that I've looked at and the little research that I've done. And I think in some ways, just on the surface, you can kind of even see, what moves the prices. You see these little spikes here and there in the markets. People have talked to me about them. We've seen them. I've noticed them when I do my live streams on Sunday night when the Asian markets open. We've seen it there, but in all those cases, they were glitches. But I'm sure there's other cases where they occur where it could be, you could see some of this activity occur, especially if you're watching them second by second. So there you have it. Post your thoughts below about JP Morgan's role in metal spoofing and how it is under a U.S. criminal probe. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.